Cool. Well, hello everyone. I'm sort of been chosen to help chair this as Jim just mentioned, which um, we'll see how this goes. But thanks for joining. One of the things that we were talking about a little bit before this was the proposal zero that's been floating around, and so just to give a quick bit of context before we jump into chatting about that. What initially happened, there's been a lot of people sort of promoting or trying to implement some potential change management strategy, a strategy for moving forward with austerity measures for the finances for the co-op, as well as a few other measures. And so I had initially posted about a week or so ago with the intent of organizing like a strategy session for people to start putting forth these great ideas. And so a few of us got together in a small group, and really Patrick actually took the lead on this and posted really more of a brain dump that's sort of in its way of turning into a formative strategy for people to, look towards and see if, hey, maybe we can adopt some of these good ideas. I mean, if we want to run through it, I didn't know what we want to really spend our time with today and see a proposed agenda, but we can definitely chat about it if you guys are interested.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the agenda here. I hadn't seen it before. I think I'll put proposal 0 on the agenda. I really think that if anyone who wants to help this, reorganization or whatever you want to call it, should express their sentiment in the documents, either with comments or suggestions, suggested edits, so that we can really get a collective intelligence on what's the right thing for us to do. Collaborative document is a perfect place, I think, for us to do that. And we probably should work on it if we have time, which probably is true. Please add to the agenda if you have any other items. Anybody have any other items they want to add? First item is the special petition. And I don't know what the special petition is, except that I believe it's to remove reg from any decision process that's outside of the RChain technical implementation, which I would not sign. I could be wrong. I don't know who added this to the agenda, but does anybody have more information on the petition, or why that's important for the members to consider?
So I don't have more information specifically around the petition. I think the first step that needs to be addressed is that there's confusion, or there's apparent confusion between who is actually able to vote or sort of enable this to become a petition. There was some misunderstandings around what is a member, what fully constitutes being able to vote on these. And so we saw, I don't know if you guys noticed, like a lot of the channels in Discord got locked down with, I think the intent was because there's people that weren't full members that had the opportunity to vote, and therefore those votes shouldn't have been counted. So to my understanding, I think that's the first component that actually has to get figured out prior to this even being much of a conversation, because there's, without having the understanding of what support would look like, you can't have it. So I don't know if someone has more context around that. But.
Okay, so this is this is in polling station or something. Where is the petition?
Well, it hasn't actually become a petition yet. It was linked. It's the link for it's been floating around in Discord. I think either Enzo, I think Enzo posted it, and he just said, I formally make a petition or a vote to a proposal for it to become a petition or whatever. And it got like almost 150 thumbs up, which the challenge was, or at least I think the issue is that the number to formally make that a petition is unclear. So, I don't have all the answers on this. I don't know if someone else wants to chime in, but I will say that there seemed to be confusion around what the number was to make it a petition, just due to the membership situation around who is a member and who isn't.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I agree, Tyler. This has been going on Discord since before the co-op meeting, and it's interesting. There's still no clarity on what 10% means. 10% of what? So I think your characterization is correct, that people just don't know if the membership is 1,600, but I don't think that dovetails with the number of people on Discord. So that's when Kenny was saying, well, you could cut. I don't know. It got kind of crazy, right? Somebody suggested going to the Seattle office, and as a co-op member, we could get everybody's email address, but then you'd have to write them down. But then it became a conversation of, does that violate privacy laws? So if we have X number of co-op members, the question is, how do we even contact them?
Right. I think one of the other issues, Ned, is that, with at least in relationship to the vote, there was 1,600 members, but only 800 of them are qualified to vote. And in my mind, I struggle to understand why if you are a member, how are you not able to vote? And so, it didn't seem like the information was consistent, because in my mind, to be a member means you've paid, you've done the KYC check. Otherwise, you're not actually a member. So right. I don't know. I felt it would just seem a little confusing. My goal, or maybe one thing that we could try to propose, is to have one of the legal team that we're paying all this money for to clarify from a legal standpoint what the bylaws are supposed to be interpreted as, so that we as members have clarity to move forward with things.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ian actually knows. I could be wrong, but.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm not sure why there is that confusion either. To me, it's, even when I joined, before, I was even interested in RChain, and I joined the co-op, it was like, okay, you got to pay your $20 and you got to get KYC, and only then are you a member. So it's always been pretty obvious. I'm not sure why the membership feels they could pay or not pay their $20, but then forego the KYC, but that they are somehow still a member. I don't understand where that disconnect on their part is, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think, frankly, there's, yeah. I have this weird, this isn't correct. I'm not saying this is the case, but it kind of gives me the bad taste of and I know this might trigger some people, but a voter suppression almost, because if the difference between 816 is incredibly substantial, and so it would greatly differentiate or it would greatly impose someone's ability to actually put forth a petition like that. So I really hope there is clarity, and I don't think that's the intention by any means, but it gives me pause in some instances, just given the fact that it is a high priority in my book, because it seems fairly rudimentary. So I hope that they can get it done.
So you're thinking voter suppression from the co-op perspective? That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm just speculating, and I have slight conspiracy theorist tendencies. I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but it seems interesting.
I'm right there with you, but I'm taking it from the other perspective. Like, to me, it could just be a massive amount of trolls who
You could.
you
Yeah.
know, so.
It very well could. And that was what Jim was saying earlier, like all these, you know, it's very common for crypto projects in particular to try to, for people to try to, you know, change things. And I mean, it wouldn't.
Manipulate the currency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 So that's where I would land. I don't think it's the co-op. I think it's, gosh, I don't know. Like we were saying, it seems so obvious what you need to do to become a full-fledged member that if people have trouble with it, it's hard for me to understand how that can be.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason why, just for context, the reason why I was initially saying, well, is this coming more from the co-op, was because I don't understand how, when they said our membership number was 1,600, yet only eligible voters was 800, to me, that seemed like a really big mismatch. And so I don't know. I really have no insights on the subject, aside from the fact that you're right, Ned, it needs to be figured out, and quite quickly here, just because it makes it challenging for members to start proposing different measures. Aside from the Greg thing, there's a lot of other things that I think people might be interested, myself included, in trying to propose, but without clear insights on how you can turn that into an actual item, then it's sort of a moot point. So
yeah, totally agree. And then one other thing somebody brought up, like even voting for an issue with a thumbs up or something, what they didn't think was valid, because people can vote more than once, but you know, Discord knows who you are, and if you click on your vote, it actually removes that vote. So it actually won't allow double voting from the same person.
Right. One of the concerns I saw from Ian was that you could be viewing the Discord channel not as a member and still have the opportunity to vote. I've never tested that, so I can't confirm it by any means, but there is, that would give a concern for voter, because you could have a bunch of people just come into the channel who aren't members and impact the voting poll in a positive or negative way, that it doesn't reflect the membership. So I know how that could be a concern, but I think we should figure this out soon here.
Yeah, you know, I think
we could do that pretty easily, because if you're read only, I'm surprised it lets you do thumb up, thumbs down. I mean, somebody that have a spare email address could just, you know, register on Discord, get to the channel, and test it.
Right. It would be nice to really confirm that, because, and I could be, again, wrong. I remember I was viewing the channel before I actually became a member back in, I don't know, December, for a month or two. And I don't remember being able to do that, but I could be mistaken. So it would be nice to actually confirm that's accurate.
Yeah. I mean, the simplest thing might be is to have a petition approved by signed by a quorum of the registered Discord members, and pass it to the legal department to say whether it's valid or not. I understand that getting that list of emails is a problem, but probably could be done by somebody in one day going to the office.
Yeah.
So, you know, one other issue came up that was really interesting, which is, how are we tracking people renewing their membership, right? And it kind of came up, is Greg actually even a valid member, because he doesn't remember paying his $20 again. Right? And that probably is, I would, and that conversation went nowhere, but I would actually want to track and see, of those 1,600 members, how many have been a member for over a year, and have they all renewed? So, because if you haven't renewed, to me, you shouldn't be eligible to vote or be an active member. And I would propose nobody gets a pass on that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ned. Is it the case that you have to renew annually? I haven't been a member for a full year quite yet. I'm almost coming up, so I haven't had that issue.
My understanding, it's $20 per year. as a membership fee.
Cool. Well, in that case, then yeah, we should. We definitely should.
Man.
The cluster never falters.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, Jim, we got a bit away from the agenda. Do we want to revisit that?
Yeah, I think we beat that one to death. We have, where are we? Reward and budget work done for October.
Is this in relationship to the bounty program?
Yes. My understanding is that the things that have already been sponsored will be paid. Nothing else will be sponsored. That means for the collab, we have the network map paid. We have a couple of other things. I don't know what else has been sponsored. In some cases, they one of the rated members has, at least one of the rated members has voted a budget. In other cases, they haven't, but they have officially agreed that there was a sponsor for the activity. And, you know, we're going through the reboot of the bounty system. The rules were changing. The austerity mandate came after already some bounties were agreed to. Anybody have anything else to add on that? And oh my goodness. Okay, we have a URL.
Yeah.
For the
yeah, it was the someone took the Discord vote, from my understanding, and turned it onto an actual web page. It was the first time I'd seen it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Put that in the notes. Somebody should be taking some notes, please. I can't take notes. Kid's on. Oh, I guess Kid's not on board. Kid was at the RChain UA meeting. He usually takes good notes. So we have the and then we have proposal 0, which was brought up in the RChain EU meeting prior to this one. And
Jim, can you give like the 30-second overview of what they discussed regarding proposal 0?
That this was the place to work the collaborative space where we should address the problems that the RChain organization is facing. Not operating as a cooperative. It needs to be we need to look at, you know, our current organization, probably update our bylaws to reflect a way that we can work better as a cooperative together, or not as a cooperative. I mean, if everybody just wants to build RChain and they're not into the higher vision, you know, let RChain US just be a company. Okay.
Yeah.
But one way or the other, you know, whether we give in to the Chinese and the capitalists or whether the cooperative wins, we need to come up with a plan. We need to take action. We don't want to have one imposed on us.
Right. Well, I think that's refreshing, or maybe sort of great to hear. One of the things that I've been struggling to consider and think about the last few weeks in particular is that we've organized ourselves as a cooperative where the goal is we have members who can voice opinions and become, you know, advocates and really contribute to what we're doing. But it appears that a lot of the decision has been incredibly top down and hierarchical, which has not yielded itself favorably to the members who are trying to do things. And so I think that it would be, this in particular is a really great opportunity to try to change that dynamic a bit. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, one of the issues, you know, we've been facing is that, you know, Greg is the leader of this effort, and we owe him a lot of credit for the success that we've had. And just because the rock dropped doesn't mean that following different guidance would be in our interest. Now I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, I forgot my point here, but this is, you know, I have not participated in here the amount that I should have. I think that a multi-stakeholder decision process should be considered. I think we have to outline alternatives in here. I think we sort of, you know, they have most everything hidden down here in the transition plan, I think. And it doesn't really lay out the plan.
That's because it's not there yet. Patrick has sort of tasked me with trying to turn this into an actual plan, and I've been not fully doing that quite yet. There's a lot. I mean,
what should be, you know, I guess what's missing here is, you know, what is the current plan? Current plan is austerity, spending only on development, capitalizing on our assets, decentralized power to vice presidents, and something else. I forget, but it would be nice if we had it written down.
Yeah. It'll be turned into more of an actual written plan that's concise and clear in the next day or two here. But I agree, it's a lot of kind of thoughts on a page, and there's certainly good substance here, but we need an actual,
Yeah, and I guess another concern I have is an idea put here that a large number of the staff members would be elected by open election of the cooperative members. And that has not been a good way to build teams, unless we're just voting to confirm what we've already agreed to. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Just having a vote. I'm sorry?
Can you expand on that? Are you talking like where Kenny is now holding 3 different positions?
No.
Okay, so can you explain what you're talking about?
As part of this proposal 0, there was an idea presented, and I called for the election of all team leads. And I'm just worried that, the team leads basically represent different stakeholders in the organization, and they sort of need to work together.
But isn't that true for people's, where they're kind of thinking, no matter what?
I guess what I'm saying here is that a binary election is not the way. Binary elections is not going to build a coordinated teams. So we have to be careful, and we should be have a lot of dialogue and concurrence on team leads with the officers and the board. We want a group that can work together like a well-oiled machine.
So what's a team? What teams are you referring to, or is the document referring to?
No clue. For the for our Tampa Bay collective, we listed some teams. I'm sure we listed, yeah, but it would, be along the lines of, the stakeholder groups that we and operational function groups of the cooperative.
So Jim, what's the? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I don't know. I haven't seen a list like this for the main cooperative, but I'm sure there is a list somewhere. And if we're going to go to a multi-stakeholder decision-making process, we should, be considering other. I guess didn't really put members in here explicitly, but a vote of the members is bad if it doesn't get concurrence of the actual stakeholders in the decision.
So Jim, what's your alternative then as an approach to doing decision making for hires and team leads and whatnot? Because in my mind, the alternative is that if you don't allow members to have a say in those decisions, then you're leaving it to one or a select few of people. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just what do we collectively think is the right thing for the cooperative structure?
Let me ask it also this way. So for instance, Solutions Group, would that, instead of Greg hiring me, should that have gone to the board or to the membership for a vote?
Yeah, what they're saying here is you could be voted out of your job.
No, I'm asking if Greg, I negotiated with Greg for this position, but is under this proposal, should I just have been a candidate and then had the membership at large voted on my position? And I'm using just me as an example.
Yeah, going forward, that was the case. That would be the case.
So can you point to me one successful enterprise that has ever run a business like that?
No.
Okay.
That's why I have a concern.
Okay. I'm just asking, yeah. And I should let everybody know that there is movement among RChain Asia, maybe Europe, that they don't feel the cooperative at this point in the RChain history is going to get us as a platform, that as a viable platform.
So Ned, part of why I framed the question the way I did was that I share similar concerns. And I agree with you that there have been no businesses where if you just vote, and if someone does a bad job, vote them out. That I don't think that that's sustainable or very pragmatic. But the other concern is that in my opinion, the current management and leadership decisions have not always been the best, and so you need to have the ability to hold people's feet to the fire, and how you navigate that in a way that still is equitable to all stakeholders. I haven't yet figured it out, but I'm trying to sort of see if anyone else has suggestions that we could use and propose moving forward.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, and I've been pretty transparent that to me the board has failed. So what I've seen, the way corporations, I know we're not a corporation, but handle this is you elect a board, and the board appoints a CEO. The CEO tends to then appoint their executive committee. The board's responsibility is to the stakeholders or to the membership. If the CEO and any of the board of the executive committee fail, it's the board's responsibility to fire them. If the board is negligent in that duty, then the membership comes together and they actually just replace, and not just, they actually go through a process and they replace the board.
Yeah, my experience though is that the management and the membership aren't really well enough informed to make these decisions.
So that I agree, and we could definitely improve on that.
Okay, and the way that it's almost always been done, at least in the successful organizations I've been part of, is that when there's a hire coming in, everyone on the team interviews them and gives feedback to management. And management generally, if they're smart, they listen to the actual people that are doing the work, who know best what is needed.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been doing that for years. We hire, we have candidates vetted X number of ways, and they come in and they meet with a number of different people, and a collective decision is made. And you have to trust management that they're going to listen to all the voices, and management has to trust and I'll throw this at you, Jen, they have to trust the collective intelligence of the people who have met the candidates.
Ned, I
agree. Yeah.
Ned, you said that you've lost confidence in the board, and I think that's a general feeling going around. A lot of people have lost confidence. Some people retain some confidence. The question is, what is the alternative? You're suggesting that in a normal situation, a board would just be replaced. There are really no replacement candidates out there right now. There's not a replacement plan. As far as I know, a lot of people are trying to piece one together. Do you have a favorite way of approaching that?
So this is where I think we definitely need to evolve the way it normally works, right? So if there's a shareholder meeting, usually some, we could call them a whale, to use a crypto term, somebody who's bought up a lot of shares and now is able to sway, and they install their own board. And I'm not saying we do that. I think we have an issue, right? So what was it, two members who were just elected have resigned before they even took office. And we have a real issue with who is going to run the board. And that's why I think, if we keep, and I will bow to what Jim suggested, which is we keep those who were just voted in, and we try to build a new board around them. And, it's going to take a while, right? And so, we have open nominations maybe for a month. I mean, we should have it time boxed, right? So maybe give it a month for people to nominate people, and then we move forward on that, and then we have a month of discussion, and then we hold it, and that would probably then happen, say, January or February. It doesn't mean
so January 3rd seems like an okay date for you.
I think today's October 31st. We do November, December. With the holidays, it may have to get pushed out. I think January 3rd may be a little aggressive, especially as we're going in uncharted waters for us. So maybe the end of January. So maybe January 31st.
Comment in the document.
Sure. And I want to be clear. So Greg says if we do that, all development will stop and the project will collapse, and anybody wanting to.
Has he said that recently, or is that an old remark that you're talking about?
I think he said it last community meeting.
If we do
he recently said that.
If we do what? I mean, if we put a new board in, it's going to be turmoil. But adding to the current board, I don't see a problem with that.
I think that, and I don't want to speak for Greg, my interpretation of what he's been saying throughout Discord as well as on the Hangout was essentially that without him at the wheel, this will crash and burn. And that we don't have the skills, the competency, the understanding to be able to deliver this to its fullest potential. That's what it seems like to me. But
isn't that the centralization, which he doesn't believe in?
And Kit Blake just confirmed that he said that again an hour ago.
I think that's very dangerous. I mean,
is it possible to not elect the whole board at one time? Is it possible to elect like 3 seats at a time? So 3 seats in January, 3 seats in April, something like that?
That could be an idea.
Or we, if just take the number that gets sufficient votes. I don't know.
So I want to just, I think that's an interesting idea, Alan. I want to circle back into this idea that Greg is the centralized leader. Because
I have a comment on that too.
Okay, so even if you take out his ego and all that, as a member, to me, you've now created him as the center of risk. And God forbid, I'm knocking on my wood desk or my wood head. He has an accident, and because I mean him no harm. But say something, right? This is risk management, right? I mean, been doing software development for a long time. One of the big things in project management is risk management, right? It's a whole track in the PMP, right? How are you managing risk? So if Greg really believes that, he's failed in creating this organization, because all the risk of our company or our co-op is now centered on him. And there's no sustainable company that I know that would ever allow that to happen. And so besides what he brings, it's also a problem that he is the focal point of our total risk, if he really believes that. Now, I tend not to believe that, because people get sick, people have accidents, people have to leave. Deanna.
Greg's been working with Kenny Rowe in particular.
Okay. But he never says if you remove me and I become a CTO, Kenny will happily step in and all the investors will be more than happy. That's not the message he delivers.
I think it's a misuse of Greg to make him CTO completely. And
Jim, what's the difference? Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Please continue.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people in this co-op, and I can't blame them. They're interested in the in one purpose only, developing the technology. Okay, in the EU meeting today, they're the whole other side. They're looking at cooperation at scale and how RChain can change the world. Now, if Greg thinks he's God or whatever, well, I might not disagree. I mean, he's a genius. There's no question about it in my mind. I mean, I followed him for 8 years now because he constantly blows my mind with his intelligence. And I think most of the decisions he made were pretty well informed if it were not for the drop in the rock. But the thing is that removing him from the board rather than creating a balanced board that basically has dominion over him makes sense. And even then, I think that RChain, I think that Greg will usually be right. And I know that other people won't agree, but
so Jim, sorry, Ned, okay, I have to strongly contest that. And there's sort of two pieces of evidence that I'll use. I think the second that you put someone on a pedestal as a quote unquote genius is a very, very dangerous place to start operating from for two major reasons. Absolutely, he is, when it comes to the technology and the mathematics behind all of this, there's no doubt about it that he's in a league of his own. But that does not necessarily mean that you are competent or qualified in other areas of whether it's the financials of the business or operations or anything else in life for that matter. And so I think that it's a false narrative or a false assumption that just because he's a genius in one aspect, therefore means he is in other areas. The other thing is that I will say
it's true. And, Greg can be hard to work with, certainly, as many geniuses are. And we're all idiot savants. We're good at some things, and there's other things we can't do. Which means that we don't want him to be Julius Caesar. But it does not mean that he shouldn't be on the board. It's a totally different thing, and I think it's that we're not going to get. Greg said from the beginning that decentralization would take time, and it's his aspiration as much as it is ours to decentralize power. But he's afraid that decentralizing too quickly is going to lead to collective stupidity and not collective intelligence. And I think there is some merit to his fear. I see it happening. But because you disagree with some of his decisions, this is his baby. It's his dream, and he's the founder of this, and he should remain on the board, in my view.
We have a community meeting in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, so is there somebody that wants to summarize real quick? I came late, and I apologize to everybody for that. Ned, you want to give a quick summary so we can leave?
We discussed the agenda items. First one, I don't know, I can't remember, but
I can jump in that if you want.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
Of course. We did a quick overview of what was discussed at the RChain EU and how there's some concerns. We spent a significant amount of time discussing Proposal 0, which has moving forward measures as well as addressing the membership, what deems a voter, how we can get things on proposals, and then obviously all the things that you were a part of here, in relationship to the board, the organizational structure, Greg's relationship, so on and so forth. So that's kind of a high order bit of what we discussed.
And we retread the ground of the petition.
Right. And discuss what a member really is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have some questions, Ned. I'd like to follow up with you. I'll follow up with Tyler and Jim as well.
Cool. Thanks,
Can we
guys.
yield back to the community debrief now?
Let's do it.
Need more coffee. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Ned. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.